G'day guys, Dave Lee coming at you once again from Down Under. I'm super excited to do this video. I have been thinking about doing this for a very long time, and finally I found a good excuse to do it. Star Wars Week! Of course, on yesterday's video I did a tour through Lobo's Collectibles here in Melbourne. An awesome collectible store with all kinds of nostalgic Star Wars stuff in there, and it made me think about this tub that has been sitting up the top shelf in my bedroom for the best part of 10 years, maybe a little bit more, of all my Star Wars action figures from when I was a kid. And this is a tub of action figures of just about everything that I collected when I was a kid. All my little 3.75 inch Star Wars action figures. And these have been tubbed up, as I said, for about 10 years. I haven't been through this for a very long time. So I can't even really remember everything that is in this. I'm sure I'm going to go through this and there's going to be bits and pieces that I remember, bits and pieces I don't remember, but I'm sure I will have memories attached to most of the stuff in this box. I'm really excited. There's going to be Phantom Menace figures in here. There's going to be Attack of the Clones figures probably, and more than likely a couple of handfuls of original trilogy figures as well. I grew up in the 1990s. The Phantom Menace was all the rage when I was a kid. I was about 8 years old when the Phantom Menace came out, and that's really when I sort of started collecting Star Wars figures, around that time, around the time of the Phantom Menace. That's the first time I ever watched the original trilogy as well, and just instantly fell in love. So there's a lot of great memories in this box, saying that most of these figures are 20 years old, almost 20 years old. Some are maybe 15 years old or so, but there's a lot of great classic memories inside this and a lot of great classic figures as well. I know a lot of people don't really love the prequels that much. I adore them only because I grew up with them and because they're the Star Wars movies of my childhood. They're the Star Wars movies that came out when I was a kid, and getting all the action figures and the toys, and of course I had original trilogy figures too, but a vast majority of this stuff is probably prequel trilogy stuff. I'm really excited to do this. We're going to have a huge blast of nostalgia. I'm going to try not to drag this video on too long, but this is very exciting. I've also got these two guys here, which are action figure like holders, display case things. They've been doing these since like the 80s. I think this is a vintage one actually. I found this at like a garage sale. I'm sure there's some figures in there too. More than likely, most of my original trilogy figures are inside these ones. I think this was an episode 1 thing, 1998. So there you go, I've been collecting since 1998, so that's a good 20 years ago. Let's take a look. So much stuff in here that I just haven't been through in a very long time. Let's do it. All right, what do we got in here? There's just so much stuff. Oh boy, this here. That's my very first lightsaber. That is awesome. That's the very first lightsaber I ever owned. This was a Qui-Gon Jinn saber, 1999, so there you go. Awesome. Surprisingly, that is still, that's still quite solid. How good's that? So yeah, that was my very first lightsaber. I did have a Darth Maul saber as well, but I think that broke. I was actually lightsaber fighting with a friend and it broke. So I don't know where that wound up. That might be under my bed or something, I'm not sure. But there you go. What else have we got in here? Oh yeah! This is my Jabba the Hutt figure from episode 1. He's got like this little fish thing with him here. From memory, you took the head off the fish. It's probably sitting in the tub somewhere. Who knows where it is. You put the fish in the mouth and boo! And it shot it. That was cool. That was a really cool Jabba the Hutt thing. Yeah, I love that guy. Had a lot of great times playing with Jabba the Hutt. I had a lot of villain figures in here. Playset. I think this might have been like a minifigure thing. You know, like a Mad Max sort of thing. Can't remember. That is, oh wow, one of my, geez, there's just stuff in here everywhere. One of my original speeders. This is Captain Panaka's speeder. That's cool, I completely forgot about this guy. You can put the characters in there, which is great. I collected quite a few of the vehicles from the Phantom Menace. I never really had any other vehicles from later movies. I may have had the Slave One from Attack of the Clones. Jango Fett's ship. It's obviously not in this box. I don't know where that is, but I'm sure I had the Slave One as well somewhere. Don't know what. Oh, this was one of these. What are they? Of a Force Unleashed? They were like these great sort of. I don't know where his hand is. I'm sure his hand had the lightsaber attached to it or something. Yeah, they were like those like really dynamic pose figures. They were like sort of the first of that kind. There's a Darth Maul one as well. I'm guessing that's the saber from that. Ooh. I don't know, that may have broken off or something. That one come with that. So that was awesome. That was an awesome like Darth Maul figure. I really loved that. I only had those two. There was quite a range of them, but they were really expensive from memory for the time. These things, there's gonna be a whole ton of these in the box. These things here, they're called the Comm chips. And you got one of these with each one of the Phantom Menace figures. Sort of similar to what they're doing, there's an Anakin one. Sort of similar to what they're doing with the the Last Jedi figures now, where you get a thing and it was like it'll be in there somewhere. It's like a scanner and you scan the thing over it and it played like voices and dialogue from the movie. That was pretty cool. They're doing something similar with the Last Jedi figures now, where you scan the figure or you scan a code on the box or something, and it does the same thing. So they're taking that same idea. There's going to be a lot of just random bits and pieces floating around in here. There's Kiari-Mundi. I remember searching for this figure everywhere. This was like one of those ones that was just elusive for a little while, and then I found him. I was so happy. I loved that guy. I loved him. This was, from memory, this was just about the first Qui-Gon Jinn figure on the market. He's got his cloak, he's got his saber. One thing with these is I still have all the original accessories. Even if the characters aren't holding them, they're in that box somewhere. But yeah, these are fantastic. And I remember these. These were actually really quite good for the time. These figures were great. From memory, I remember these figures being a lot bigger than this. Like, I've been looking at the new ones, the Force Awakens ones and the Last Jedi ones, and thinking, they're so small. But really, they're no smaller than these. These are tiny. I remember these being, I remember feeling like they were bigger figures. So that's pretty cool. There's another Qui-Gon Jinn. It looks like his saber's broken. The handle's broken off. Pretty much the same. Is it exactly the same figure? No, it's pretty much the same figure, but he doesn't have the cloak. So it's like exactly the same thing. They do the same thing now. They offer you the same figure with just one or two different accessories and call it a different thing. I had so many of the Force Awakens figures. I had doubles up of all the characters and all that stuff as well. Here we have one of the original Obi-Wan Kenobis, Ewan McGregor Obi-Wan. Likenesses on these aren't as bad as ever, but that's cool. Like, I love these things, and I love that I've still got, in most cases, the accessories. They're still in good form. I feel like I need to sort of find a way to display these because these are great. I'm loving these. I remember playing with these guys so much. I was like, I would have lightsaber fights between Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. Obviously non-canon, but it was fun. Wasn't that the fun part about being a kid and playing with these toys? Is you could have your own adventures with these characters, and you could like fill in the gaps to the stories while you waited for the next movie. All right, so this is what happens, and it was so much fun. Just so much fun being a kid. These two would fight all the time. Oh man, that's great. That's great. Lots of great Phantom Menace figures. I've got Chancellor Valorum. I'm telling you, I had all of these guys. All of them. Even the crappy characters that no one cares about. I love them. I had to have them all. Look, there's so much stuff in here. I don't want to take too long at this. This guy here is like a Gungan general. Oh boy, Gungans are terrible, aren't they? What do I call them? Droideka. There's another name for them too, but I can't remember. I love these guys. I mean, that's awesome. Look at the articulation on something like that. That's great. That's great. Captain Panaka right there, which is awesome. Like I said, I have all the accessories, even if they're not with the figure. They'll be down the bottom. When I was a kid, I used to remember what accessories came with what figure. I could just throw them all in the box, and I could just tell what was what. These days, I would probably struggle going through all these, trying to figure out what's what. Newt Gunray and Rune Hako. They were pretty cool figures. I used to like these two figures. Never really liked the characters, but I liked the figures. I remember that. I have battle droids galore in here from memory. I've got so many of them. Look, this is like a battle damaged one. There was battle damaged ones. There was clean ones. There was ones with different stripes on their noses. Just trying to flog off these characters. Flog off as many versions of them as they can for as long as I can remember. Here's a little Anakin Skywalker. Tiny little guy. Look at that, little mini Anakin Skywalker. He's very cool. And from memory, I think I've just seen him in there, yes. There's this version as well. This was so rare. I remember it took so long to find this version of Anakin Skywalker. And it's probably, again, actually no, it's quite different because he's in a different outfit there. I'll give them that, that was different. But that was hard to come by from memory. We have Boss Nass, leader of the Gungans. Awesome, this is a great figure. There's another battle droid. It's like another, like, beat up guy. cardboard roll. I don't know what that's in there for. I think I used to use cardboard rolls as lightsabers. Very awesome. I love this guy. He's one of my favorites. I love the bad guys. We've got a Padme Amidala there. It's a great figure. And actually, talking about her is the Queen Amidala. Weren't the costumes for Queen Amidala just beautiful? Even if you don't like the Phantom Menace, you gotta appreciate the amazing costumes that were in that movie. Oh, it's my original, like, Return of the Jedi, like, game thing. Oh, wow. Oh, this is like a remote control thing. Still wouldn't work anymore. Like another sort of Trade Federation ship thing. And he had like this control and it would move. This would all be Bluetooth now, wouldn't it? Not back then. You had a wire. Could only go a certain distance. That's the beauty of these old figures, isn't it? Oh, what the hell is this? Oh, this is that guy. Jeez. Like I said, half of this stuff I've just completely forgotten about, but I remember it. I have memories with it. This is that fish that goes after them. Was there like a thing on top? Yeah. I remember I used to play with them. Like I said, non-canon adventures from the Star Wars universe were always the best. A couple more battle droids there. Like I said, there were so many of them. We've found 4 so far, and I'm sure there's more. Love this guy. Little Watto figure. The detail they put in these are quite good back then. Look at this. Especially little alien figures. They're great. They're really awesome. And I'm so happy I grew up with these figures because they're awesome. There's another Anakin Skywalker, this time with new backpack. Same figure again with a backpack. And it was crazy. Look at that. Kids will just... And even now, I suppose I'll do that. Oh, he's got a new accessory. I have to have it. Darth Maul. Oh, this was like one of the... I don't know where the rest of him is. It's one of the later ones they did. One of the later Darth Maul figures where you could actually pull him apart. Yeah, this was like the Darth Maul you could rip in half. Very morbid. This is, I think, Darth Maul that sat on a speeder or something. That's the only reason he would have this kind of articulation. This was one of the first Darth Mauls that came out. Or at least was the only one you could actually get for ages. This guy, though, was incredibly hard to get. He was the first one that came out. I think both of these two come out about the same time. But it was like everyone wants the villain figures. And as soon as there's a new Star Wars villain, everyone wanted to just buy the new figure. And he sold out. And you couldn't find this guy for ages. I remember trying to get this guy for so long. And then he finally came out. And he came out in abundance. And that's what happens with these things. It happened with The Force Awakens. I mean, there were so many Rey figures at first, and then they sold out so quickly, and then all of a sudden everyone was like, where's Rey? The whole where's Rey movement started, which was crap because there were so many figures, there was so much demand for them that they flew off the shelves. And now you can find them in abundance. They're absolutely everywhere now, both Last Jedi and Force Awakens figures. Look, as I said, there's so many Phantom Menace figures in here. I could spend all day just going through this, and I'm sure you probably don't want to see that. Look at this, like 3 Jar Jar Binks. I'm sure I had another one, because these are all sort of dynamic pose ones. There was another one where he was just sort of just standing there. I don't know where that is, but check out these guys. I don't really remember this one with the tongue out. That's an odd one. This one I think was supposed to be on some sort of vehicle or animal. There was like an animal that he sat on top of. And then this one, I'm not even sure. He's just being weird. I'm sure there was another one, at least another Jar Jar in there somewhere. I have no idea where it is. That's the animal there. So that's the thing that he's supposed to be sitting on. From memory, like that. Yeah, something like that. Cool. Samuel L. Jackson as Mace Windu. Got to take a very quick look at him. There's another Qui-Gon Jinn there. There's that last Jar Jar. There he is. That's the original one. Sort of in a weird pose there, though. He's missing an ear. None of my figures were ever really broken, but maybe 1 or 2 just lost something, and then I have to buy them again. There is another Padme here. This was my favorite Padme figure as a kid. It's just great. I mean, I love it. Like, she's fantastic. Handmaiden Padme. Let's quickly, though, have a look at a couple of these. These, I believe, were Attack of the Clones, which I want to spend even less time talking about because that's just my least favorite movie, the entire trilogy of the entire saga, to be honest. Here we go, we've got this guy, Dexter, I think, a Tuscan Raider. We've got a Padme here, I think. Does that come off? That comes off. That's cool. I had quite a few Padmes. She's got something on her back here. I didn't really like the Attack of the Clones ones. They felt flimsy. I mean, look at that. The articulation and stuff on them is pretty good. But I just felt like they didn't have that same sturdiness as the Phantom Menace ones. That's an Obi-Wan from Attack of the Clones and Jango Fett. I love Jango Fett. Everyone loved Jango Fett. He was cool. These were from like some local $2 shop. He's lost his leg. Bootlegs. Look at the face on that. That is awful. That's terrible. And this fake Chewbacca thing. They are so bad. I remember there being a bootleg collection of Phantom Menace figures at one point too. Look, like I said, so many Phantom Menace figures. We need to get to the original trilogy stuff in here because that's what people want to look at, right? Original trilogy figures. We have got this guy here, TC-14. This was the figure that eluded me for so long. It was so rare, I could never find it here in Australia. I looked for so long, I could never find it carded, and one day I found this at like some swap meet. It was like, when I found it, I was like, oh my lord. It's like that one thing you've been looking for forever, and then you finally found it. I mean, it's not a great figure, but I love Protocol Droids, I love C-3PO, and it was just that one that I could never find, and I finally found it, and of course I kept it baggied up. I have, of course, since then seen many TC-14s at collectibles shops and stuff over the years, so... Before we do move on, though, to some original trilogy stuff, I need to take a look at this guy. He was one of my absolute favourite figures. This is a little Yoda in his little chair from the Jedi Temple. I just loved it so much. I just thought it was one of the most unique little figures. He came with a little chair and just everything. I think he was one of the very first figures I ever owned. I'm pretty sure he was one of the first ones. Talking about first figures ever. If you saw the video where I went into the collectible store, Lobos, on my channel, you would have seen that I was on a hunt for this C-3PO figure. It was the first Star Wars figure I ever owned. I tried to find like a carded version of it. This is it. This is where it began. This is a, I believe, original trilogy 3PO, but it was created as part of like a preview line for the Phantom Menace. There he is, right there. That's the guy, the original C-3PO, the very first Star Wars figure I ever owned. It's amazing. That's really amazing. Like I said in the video yesterday, he had a removable arm and I lost the arm. Went down my auntie's car. We could never find it. Went down a little crack and just couldn't ever fish it out. You are the reason I have spent so much money on Star Wars over the years, my good friend, my little golden friend. Look at that. Isn't that amazing that you can just put back so much of your life down to one thing? It's like one moment. Like everything in life is one moment that you can trace everything back to. It's usually a moment, but in this case, this is like a tangible thing. This is like, you guys out there know full well how big my Star Wars collection is. It's not as big as some, but it's a fairly sizable collection for someone who's been collecting for the best part of 20 years. And to look back, to trace that timeline back to one moment in time, it's this guy. I think that's remarkable. And I think it's remarkable I still have this guy and he's still in fairly decent condition, minus the arm. That's amazing. I love you, mate. Anyway, I pulled out a couple of other original trilogy figures here, which I think are pretty cool. I got a bunch of Luke Skywalkers. Don't know what this one is. Look how buff he looks. They had to make the figures look really buff, really manly. Oh yeah, men want to buy these toys. Let's make them buff. That's awful. There's this one. I'm not quite sure. Is this like a Bespin Jewel thing? Another one of those ones with the thing on the back where you press it and it... I'm sure he would have had a lightsaber. He's missing a hand. I'm sure at one point he would have had a lightsaber and you do that. There's another Luke here, which is like, I love this one. You could have him standing up. I think it was like a little diorama with it. And you could get Yoda in a backpack and clip it onto his back. That was cool. We got another Luke Skywalker from the buff range. This is Return of the Jedi. Buff Luke Skywalker, which is pretty cool. We got this Chewbacca. I used to love this one. He's just chilling. He's like, oh yeah, Chewie. That's very cool. Yak Face, the elusive Yak Face. There you go. I had Yak Face in figure form. We got another Chewbacca here. I don't know what the hell he's doing, but there's another Chewie there. Funny thing is, I love the original trilogy so much. There's Darth Maul's legs, by the way. I just don't have that many original trilogy figures. So all these random Phantom Menace ones, like I said, that was the movie that I grew up with as a kid. Obi-Wan in a trench coat. That there, that's that Contech thing. I highly doubt this would still work after 20 years. So most of my stuff was Phantom Menace. And from memory, they just weren't producing a lot of original trilogy figures back then. It was always like a big thing when I finally got my hands on an original trilogy figure, because I don't know if they were just hard to come by, or they just weren't ones that you wanted to pick up because you wanted the ones from the new movies. Here's a couple of really special ones. These are a couple of original 1977 figures. Yeah, I know, just thrown in the tub. But these didn't cost a great deal because, you'll see, I'm trying to find a date on this. 77. This is an original figure. It's an original figure, and I believe this one is 1977. Two originals. Here we go. Two vintage figures. Darth and Leia. They're pretty beat up. They were like this when I got them. I bought these from a collectibles store. May have been Lobo's. I don't know. It was in a different position, so I don't know whether it's the same store that sort of changed over the years. But yeah, check that out. I mean, that's like they're two of the original figures from 1977. But they were cheap as chips when I bought them, because you can buy them, as you saw in that video yesterday, you can buy them out of card, just loose, pretty crap condition. Vader doesn't have his cape, didn't come with it, and they're just cheap. They're really cheap, and you can still pick them up for quite cheap. Look, I'm happy that I have a couple of them in my collection. They're not great condition. I reckon I had an Obi-Wan as well at some point too. Oh, I have to show this guy before we move on, because I'm sort of tired of this tub. It's all just random crap in there and a few random figures. This was one of my first ones as well. As you can probably tell, I just love C-3PO. I remember this guy actually being my favourite figure as a kid. I loved the episode 1 version of 3PO. He just looked so cool to me. And I loved having both that guy and that guy. You know, they were two of my first ones. I reckon this may have been my first Phantom Menace figure. And so these are the first two figures, I believe. So I had this guy, and then when Phantom Menace rolled around, I had to get the new 3PO. That's most of them. That's most of the figures I sort of just grew up with playing. There's just a lot of random other crap in there. As you can see, it's mostly accessories. There's Robin, Batman and Robin. Another Stormtrooper knockoff there. All right, let's get into these, hey? So like I said, it's like a figure holder. Every time you've seen a movie where someone's like a Star Wars fan, they have a Star Wars collection, they have one of these guys. I'm pretty sure I got this from a garage sale, as I said. Yeah, look at that. Some original trilogy characters here. We've got a Lando from Return of the Jedi. You'll find a lot of these here are just sort of random variants of the characters. I think most of the time, the only times I ever really got original trilogy characters were when they were on special. They did like huge clearances. Return of the Jedi Han. These are all from that buff range. These are all Power of the Force, I believe. That one. We've got an R2-D2 there. Old Ben Kenobi. Han Solo in Hoth. Like a random little Ewok guy. Original trilogy Tuscan Raider, which is great. Even Chewbacca's buff. Look at that. Look at the biceps on him. What a strange range of action figures they were. This one's cool. This is like a later version of a Han Solo figure. Don't know what the deal with the articulation on that is. Princess Leia in the gold bikini, of course. Everyone loved Princess Leia in the gold bikini. What a just cool, feisty character. It's awesome. I used to play with her and the Jabba the Hutt too. I used to reenact the scene where she just slaughtered Jabba the Hutt. I used to think that was so cool. I loved Leia as a kid. I still love Leia now. She's just such a cool, feisty character. I love her so much. You got a Stormtrooper inside Luke Skywalker's cloak. Very odd. Ah! I love this Chewbacca. Check this out, right? This Chewie was great because you got like two characters in one. This is Empire Strikes Back, and you've got this bag in the back where he's got little bits and pieces of C-3PO floating around in there after C-3PO gets ravaged on Cloud City. How cool is that? Little head, body. That's awesome. That's one of my favorites. I love that. I love Chewie. I love 3PO. Just great characters. Oh, look at this. So much nostalgia just being a kid. Oh, there's this looks like an original figure as well, actually. Original Leia from like 1983, Return of the Jedi. Very cool. She's actually got this on her, which is interesting. Must have been cheap, but there you go. She's actually got accessories with her, which is quite cool. There might be a little bit of value in that, maybe. I'm not too sure. So that's everything from that. Let's take a look at this. This is the last sort of little bit that we'll have a look at here. Don't know if there's anything in there, actually. This was the episode 1 answer to that. So this is where you're supposed to keep your episode 1 figures in. It's like a... No. Ah, it's pretty filthy, man. Look at that. It's just like, it was a pretty cool little battle station thing. I love this. I used to play with this all the time. It was actually great. This was great. I remember this now. Yeah, no, I don't have any figures in there. They're all in that tub. I had way too many figures to fit in there. But yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Let's check out a closer look at that. Yeah, I do remember playing with this. This was great. Like a little action set thing. Wow, that was an absolute trip down memory lane. I hope that was as exciting for you as it was for me. I know there's a lot of people from my generation who grew up with these figures as well. All, me and all my mates grew up with these figures, and I just love them. I adore them so much. It's been a great blast of nostalgia, great memories looking back. This is where my collection began. These are the beginnings of like a lifelong thing. It's like Star Wars. Being a Star Wars fan and Star Wars collector is something that it never leaves you. It's something that's with you for life. So I will be a Star Wars collector for the rest of my life. It's not something you can escape. It really isn't. You get into it and it becomes part of who you are. It's hard to explain. But I know there's a lot of people out there who are with me on this, and that is that this is just like a way of life. It becomes part of you and you become part of it. And these characters, and they mean so much. I mean, you have like this enormous connection to these characters over your entire life, that it means something. It means more than just collecting toys. It's like a representation of who you are. Like going through these toys again, I felt like a kid again. And I feel like I want to feel the same when I go and watch The Last Jedi in a couple of days' time. It's like just being a kid, and that's what it's about. It's about maintaining that youth. I'll be a Star Wars collector for the rest of my life. I will love this franchise until the day I die. Alright, let's stop the sappy crap and let's sign off from this video today. Thank you so much for joining me along for this ride. It was absolutely awesome. A lot of fun going through all this stuff. If you're a first-time viewer and you've liked this video, you'd like to see some more of my videos in the future, then please give me some support, and after the jump at the end of the video, please hit that big old subscribe button up on the screen. To all my regular subscribers out there, thank you once again for joining me. To absolutely everybody out there, don't forget to hit that like button. It does a great deal in getting all my videos out there. And look, I hope I'll see you all again soon. Until next time though, guys, take care, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Take it easy. Wow.